The books are hiding something darker than you know. Beneath the surface of George R.R. Martin's world lies a web of terrifying secrets that will change how you see everything. What if the Starks aren't the heroes but unwitting pawns? What if dragons aren't the most powerful magic returning to the world? What if everything we've witnessed is merely the opening move in a game being played by entities older than time itself? The truth is more disturbing than you've imagined. These aren't just theories. They're the missing pieces that reveal the true horror and wonder of the Song of Ice and Fire. Tonight we'll peel back the layers of deception to expose the darkest secrets of Westeros and beyond. Some of these revelations might haunt your dreams, but you won't be able to look away. From secret conspiracies brewing in the frozen north to eldritch horrors stirring in the depths of the sea, prepare to discover the hidden truth behind the Game of Thrones. Theory 1. The North remembers how Northern Lords are secretly plotting the greatest revenge in Westeros. The Bolton banners may fly over Winterfell, but beneath the surface, a complex web of Northern loyalty and vengeance is being woven. Despite the crushing defeat of Robb Stark and the apparent subjugation of the North under House Bolton, a deep-seated loyalty to the Starks endures, fueling a complex and clandestine movement known as the Grand Northern Conspiracy. This theory posits that several prominent northern houses, notably Manderley, Glover, Umber, Mormont, and potentially others, are engaged in a patient, coordinated effort to undermine Bolton rule, eliminate their Frey allies, and ultimately restore a Starkie to the seat of Winterfell. Their chosen king might be Rickon Stark, believed to be alive on Skagos, or a legitimized Jon Snow, fulfilling Robb's suspected will, naming him heir. The most overt piece of evidence comes from Lord Wyman Manderley of White Harbour. In a private meeting with Davos Seaworth, Manderley delivers a stirring declaration. "My son Wendell came to the twins a guest. He ate Lord Walder's bread and salt, and hung his sword upon the wall to feast with friends. And they murdered him. Murdered, I say, and may the Freys choke upon their fables. The North remembers, Lord Davos. The North remembers, and the mummer's farce is almost done. My son is home." This speech, coupled with his demand that Davos retrieve Rickon Stark as a precondition for Manderley support for Stannis, is a cornerstone of the conspiracy theory. Further evidence is woven through subtle actions and coded language throughout the North. Lord Manderley's feigned loyalty to the Freys and Lannisters, his public grief that masks a simmering rage, and the infamous Frey Pie's theory all point to a cunning and ruthless player biding his time. The Frey Pies theory suggests that Manderley baked the missing Freys into pies served at Ramsay Bolton's wedding feast, a gruesome revenge reminiscent of the Rat Cook tale, a story about a man who fed a king his own son and was cursed for violating. Guessed right, exactly what the Freys did at the Red Wedding. The actions of other Northern Lords also hint at this unified resistance. Lady Barbary Dustin's bitter pronouncements against the Starks might be a clever misdirection, or she could be a more complicated, independent player whose goals align with destabilizing the Boltons. The mysterious mountain clans that join Stannis's march on Winterfell do so out of loyalty to Ned's girl, showing the enduring power of the Stark name. House Mormont, through young but fierce Lady Lyanna, declares, "Bear Island knows no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark." This bold statement, made while ostensibly under Bolton rule, reveals the shallow depth of their supposed submission. The presence of bands of Northmen, still active and causing trouble for Lannister and Frey, forces in the Riverlands, long after Robb's death, suggests a persistent, organized resistance that never truly surrendered. These could be remnants of Robb's army working in concert with the broader conspiracy. The theory suggests these Northern Lords are skillfully playing Stannis Baratheon against the Boltons, intending to let them weaken each other before revealing their true allegiance to a Stark heir. The complex political maneuvering at Winterfell in A Dance with Dragons, with mysterious deaths and rising tensions between the various factions allied with the Boltons, further indicates an unseen hand, or hands, sowing discord. Even the northern houses that appear to collaborate with the Boltons, such as Dustin and Ryswell, show subtle signs of reluctance and possible sabotage. Their forces are suspiciously positioned outside Winterfell's walls during the impending battle with Stannis, suggesting they may be preparing to change sides at a crucial moment. The Grand Northern Conspiracy is not just about revenge for the Red Wedding. It is about the deep cultural identity of the North, its fierce independence, and its unwavering loyalty to House Stark, who have ruled for thousands of years. The phrase, "The North remembers," is more than a motto. It is a promise of retribution and restoration. The success of this conspiracy hinges on secrecy, patience, and the ability of these disparate lords to coordinate their efforts against formidable enemies. If true, it represents a masterful long game, a testament to the enduring spirit of the North and its refusal to bow to usurpers, setting the stage for a dramatic upheaval that could reshape the political landscape of Westeros as the winds of winter finally arrive. The question remains, which Stark will they crown when the snow settles? And will the wolves' revenge be as cold as the winter that comes with it? Theory 2. The Dancing Master lives. Why Syrio Forel escaped death and where he's hiding. When the Lannister guards came for Arya Stark, her Dancing Master stood between them and certain death. But did the first sword of Braavos truly fall that day, or did he execute one final, perfect dance? The fate of Syrio Forel, Arya Stark's charismatic and skilled Dancing Master, remains a poignant point of contention and hope for many fans of the series. When Lannister guards, led by the Kingsguard Knight Sir Meryn Trant, came to apprehend Arya in the Red Keep, Syrio, the former First Sword of Braavos, stood his ground armed only with a wooden practice sword. He deftly dispatched 5 armored guardsmen, buying Arya precious time to flee. His final defiant words to her were, "What do we say to the god of death? Not today." Arya escaped as she heard Syrio's wooden sword finally break against Trant's steel armor. His death is never explicitly shown or confirmed from her perspective, leading to persistent theories that this master swordsman somehow survived the encounter. The Hound later scoffs at the idea of Syrio's survival, telling Arya, "Your friend's dead, and Meryn Trant's not, 'cause Trant had armor. And a big fucking sword." This pragmatic assessment is compelling, as Syrio was unarmored and ultimately disarmed against a fully armored knight. Cersei Lannister also implies his demise when she mentions to Tyrion that Arya's wretched dancing master interfered. However, the lack of an on-page death, combined with Syrio's exceptional skill and Braavosi cunning, keeps the flame of speculation alive. Proponents argue that the first sword of Braavos would not be so easily overcome, even by Trant. Some point to a sound Arya heard as she fled, which could be interpreted as Trant's sword falling, suggesting Syrio may have disarmed him. If he survived, he would undoubtedly need to disappear, leading to the most intriguing aspect of this theory. Syrio Forel and Jaqen H'ghar may be the same person. The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. Both are Braavosi with exceptional skills. Both take a special interest in Arya's development. Syrio disappears just before Jaqen appears in the Black Cells. Their philosophical approaches, while different on the surface, both center on identity, observation, and death. For Syrio to become Jaqen would require Faceless Man abilities, which raises the question, was Syrio already a Faceless Man sent to guide Arya? His emphasis on watching and truly seeing parallels the training Arya later receives at the House of Black and White. His teachings about becoming as swift as a deer, quiet as a shadow, prepare her perfectly for her future as an assassin. Skeptics point out that Jaqen was already imprisoned when Syrio faced Trant, making the timing difficult unless Jaqen was actually a different faceless man who later took Jaqen's identity. Others note that Syrio's fighting style and personality seem fundamentally different from Jaqen's, though faceless men are masters of assuming complete identities. The mystery deepens when considering Jaqen's inexplicable presence in the black cells in the first place. How would a master assassin allow himself to be captured? Unless his imprisonment was intentional, part of a larger plan that somehow involved being near Arya. While George R.R. Martin has reportedly confirmed Syrio's death in interviews, the ambiguity within the primary texts allows the mystery to endure. Syrio's death serves a crucial narrative purpose. It is a pivotal moment in Arya's loss of innocence, fueling her thirst for vengeance and her journey toward becoming an assassin herself. His sacrifice underscores the brutality of the world she inhabits. Yet, the slim possibility of his survival offers a glimmer of hope and a testament to his legendary skill. If he did perish, he did so as the first sword of Braavos should, defending the innocent and defying death until his last breath. If he lived, he remains a master of shadows, perhaps watching from afar, his story yet to be fully told, and his reappearance would be one of the most satisfying twists in the series. What if the greatest lesson Syrio taught Arya wasn't how to dance with a sword, but how to dance with death itself? And what if he still watches her progress from behind another face? Theory 3. The Stranger in Winterfell. Who is the mysterious hooded man stalking Theon? In a castle filled with spies, traitors, and murderers, one figure stands out as the most enigmatic. A hooded man who knows Theon's darkest secrets and may be orchestrating a bloody reckoning from within Bolton-occupied Winterfell. Amidst the swirling snows and rising paranoia of a Winterfell besieged by Stannis Baratheon and haunted by internal treachery, Theon Greyjoy, broken and known as Reek, has a chilling encounter. A man, his face obscured by a hood, confronts Theon, his words dripping with venom. Theon Turncloak, Theon Kinslayer. False is all you were. How is it you still breathe? When Theon, in his terror and submission, reveals his maimed hand, the stranger laughs before permitting him to continue his service to Ramsay Bolton. Theon himself speculates that this hooded figure might be the shadowy hand behind the recent string of murders plaguing the Bolton-occupied castle, including those of Yellow Dick and one of Roger Risewell's men. The identity of this hooded man remains one of the most debated micro-mysteries of A Dance with Dragons, with theories ranging from the mundane to the deeply psychological. Could he be a simple, vengeful northerner, loyal to the Starks and disgusted by Theon's betrayals? Perhaps, but the man's apparent personal knowledge of Theon suggests a deeper connection. More elaborate theories propose he is a known character in disguise. Moore's Umber, Crowfoot, is a strong candidate. His own scathing denunciations of Theon as a turncloak and a kinslayer with a lying tongue almost perfectly mirror the hooded man's words. Though Moore's is missing an eye, and Theon briefly notes the hooded man has two, theories suggest Moore's could be employing a glamour, perhaps having infiltrated Winterfell with Mance Rayder's party of disguised wildlings. The magic of glamours has been established through Melisandre's transformation of Rattleshirt into a false Mance Rayder, showing such deceptions are possible in this world. Other northern figures like Hallis Mollen, sent north with Eddard Starks, Bones by Catelyn, his fate unknown, Harwin, a Stark man-at-arms last seen with the Brotherhood without banners, or Robert Glover, who was at White Harbor, are also considered possibilities, each with supporting arguments and counterpoints regarding their motives and means. Even Septon Chael, supposedly drowned by Theon's command but whose body was never explicitly found, is a candidate, though his violent demeanor as the hooded man seems uncharacteristic. A particularly unsettling theory posits that the hooded man is not real at all, but an alter ego of Theon himself, a Theon Durden, a manifestation of his profound guilt, self-loathing, and fractured identity under Ramsay's torture. The man's accusations are precisely those Theon levels against himself, and the cruel laughter at his maimed hand could be a resurfacing of Theon's former arrogance. This psychological interpretation gains credence from Theon's demonstrated fractured psyche, switching between Reek and Theon, depending on circumstances. The murders occurring throughout Winterfell further complicate the mystery. Are they the work of the hooded man, Mance Rayder's spearwives, or part of the broader northern conspiracy to undermine Bolton rule? Some theorize Theon himself could be committing these murders in a dissociative state, explaining his inability to recall his actions. Regardless of his true identity, the hooded man can be seen as personifying the collective, vengeful spirit of the North, a chilling reminder of the unresolved trauma and simmering rebellion against the Boltons. If he is a physical agent involved in the Winterfell murders, as Theon suspects, his presence indicates a coordinated resistance operating within the very walls Rose Bolton commands, turning Winterfell into a shadowy battleground of sabotage and fear. The sheer ambiguity surrounding him also underscores the pervasive theme of lost and shattered identities in the northern storyline, where truth and selfhood are as obscured and treacherous as the blizzard-swept landscape. Is the hooded man a ghost from Theon's past, a northern avenger, or the fractured remnant of the person Theon once was? And when will his true face be revealed? Theory 4. The mysterious scepter. Is Lemore actually a dead noblewoman in disguise? A beautiful scepter with stretch marks from childbirth travels with a supposed Targaryen prince. Her very existence raises questions. Who is this woman hiding behind holy robes, and what past is she concealing that could change the Game of Thrones? Septa Lemore, the woman tasked with the spiritual education of young Griff. The youth purported to be Aegon Targaryen is a figure of considerable mystery and speculation. While she presents as a devout follower of the faith of the Seven, several clues suggest her scepter's robes conceal a more significant past. Tyrion Lannister, during his voyage on the Shy Maid, observes stretch marks on Lemore's belly, clear evidence of past childbirth, a fact incongruous with the vows of a scepter. This leads him to conclude she was not always a scepter, or at least not a chaste one. Furthermore, Jon Connington, the exiled lord fiercely protective of young Griff and privy to the secrets of their company, internally refers to her as Lady Lemore, strongly implying noble birth. Lemore herself admits to young Griff, "You are not the only one who must needs hide," confirming her identity is concealed. Described as past 40 and more handsome than pretty but still easy on the eye, her true identity could hold significant implications for Aegon's cause. The most romantic and enduring theory is that Septa Lemore is none other than Ashara Dane, the legendary beauty of Starfall and former lady-in-waiting to Princess Elia Martell, Rhaegar Targaryen's wife. Ashara supposedly threw herself from the Palestone sword tower at Starfall into the Summer Sea, grief-stricken after a stillbirth or miscarriage and the events of Robert's rebellion, including the death of her brother Sir Arthur Dane, at the Tower of Joy where Eddard Stark was present. Crucially, her body was never recovered. Her close ties to Elia Martell would make her a plausible and deeply loyal guardian for Elia's son Aegon. The stretch marks align with her tragic pregnancy. Some versions of the tale suggest Ashara was heartbroken over Ned Stark, while others point to Brandon Stark or even Prince Rhaegar himself as possible fathers of her child. adding layers to her potential motivations for supporting young Griff. However, discrepancies exist in this identification. Ashara would likely be in her mid to late 30s during the events of A Dance with Dragons, while Tyrion estimates Lemore as past 40, though this is merely his perception. More significantly, Tyrion makes no note of the famously striking violet Dane eyes, a feature Ashara possessed and one that would be difficult to disguise. Jon Connington also knew Ashara well from court and his friendship with Rhaegar, yet he gives no indication of recognizing Lemore as her. Another compelling, if less tragic, candidate is Wenda the White Fawn, a notable outlaw from the Kingswood Brotherhood during the reign of Aerys II. Wenda was described as young and fair in her outlaw days. If she were in her early 20s, then she would be around 40 some 18 years later, fitting Lemore's description. This theory suggests Wenda might have been a disillusioned lady of House Catherine, whose sigil features white fawns. Turning to outlawry, perhaps after being wronged by a nobleman and bearing a child, thus explaining the stretch marks and a potential animosity towards the nobility she was known for. Her connection to Aegon's party could stem from an association with Miles Toyne, the former Captain General of the Golden Company, via Simon Toyne, a fellow member of the Kingswood Brotherhood. It's even theorized she might have escaped Westeros by posing as a scepter for Lady Jane Swan, giving her experience in the role she now plays for Aegon. Other, less detailed theories suggest Lemore could be the mother of Tyene Sand, one of Oberyn, Martell's bastard daughters whose mother was a scepter, or simply an unknown noblewoman with strong Targaryen loyalties. Some even speculate she could be Lyanna Stark herself, though this would require an elaborate explanation for how she survived childbirth at the Tower of Joy. Ultimately, Lemore's true identity could significantly impact the perception of Aegon's claim. If she is Ashara Dane, it lends a powerful aura of Dornish legitimacy and continuity from Rhaegar's era. If Wenda, it might hint at a broader, more unconventional coalition supporting Aegon. The pervasive secrecy within Aegon's retinue, Aegon, himself Jon Connington, and Lemore all operating under assumed identities, casts a general shadow of doubt over their entire enterprise. Lemore's hidden past is a crucial piece of this puzzle, and her role as Aegon's instructor in the faith of the Seven might also be a calculated move by Varys and Illyrio to ensure Aegon is perceived as a culturally legitimate Westerosi king, making her function perhaps more important than her specific lineage in the grand Mummer's Dragon plot. Who is the woman behind the scepter's robes? And what secrets from her past could either strengthen or destroy Aegon's claim to the Iron Throne? Theory 5. The Silent Guardian. How Howland Reed holds the secret that could change everything. He saved Ned Stark's life, sent his children to aid Bran, and hasn't been seen since Robert's rebellion. What does the enigmatic Lord of Greywater watch know that makes him too dangerous to appear in the story? Howland Reed, the reclusive Lord of Greywater Watch and steadfast companion to Eddard Stark, holds a unique and pivotal position in the unfolding saga of Westeros. He is the sole living witness, apart from Jon Snow himself, who was an infant, to the momentous events that transpired at the Tower of Joy in Dorne at the end of Robert's rebellion. Ned Stark himself confessed to Bran that, had it not been for Howland Reed, Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, would have killed him. This places Howland at the very heart of Lyanna Stark's death and the mystery surrounding Jon Snow's birth. His knowledge of these events is considered so critical that George R.R. Martin has stated Howland Reed will not be a POV character precisely because he knows too much, implying his eventual testimony will be revelatory. Beyond the Tower of Joy, Howland was also central to the tale of the Night of the Laughing Tree at the tourney at Harrenhal, an event that many believe set in motion the chain of events leading to Robert's rebellion. His daughter, Mira, recounts how Lyanna Stark defended Howland from bullying squires and how the Mystery Knight later championed Howland's honor. The Knight of the Laughing Tree, widely believed to be Lyanna Stark herself, defeated 3 knights whose squires had attacked Howland. This action caught the attention of the Mad King, who sent Rhaegar to find the knight. Many theorize this was the first meeting between Rhaegar and Lyanna, the spark that would eventually burn the realm in rebellion. Howland witnessed this pivotal moment firsthand. Despite the monumental importance of his knowledge, Howland Reed has remained conspicuously absent from the main narrative, secluded in the shifting swamps of the Neck since returning from the war. He sent his children Jojen and Mira to Winterfell to aid Bran, demonstrating his continued loyalty to House Stark and his awareness of the prophetic dreams concerning Bran. This suggests Howland possesses some form of foresight or mystical knowledge, perhaps gained during his mysterious visit to the Isle of Faces before the tourney at Harrenhal. Theories abound as to why he remains hidden. Some speculate his Crannogman magic, which Mira describes as including the ability to breathe mud and run on leaves, and change earth to water and water to earth with no more than a whispered word, keeps him concealed, or that he is engaged in a hidden magical struggle. Others believe his knowledge is so dangerous that he remains in Greywater Watch to protect it or himself until the opportune moment for its revelation. The Crannog folk themselves are known for their secretive nature, their unique culture, and their ancient ties to the children of the forest. Howland's connection to the Green Men of the Isle of Faces further suggests he may possess knowledge of the old magics and ancient pacts that shaped Westeros. His mobile fortress, Greywater Watch, which reportedly moves through the swamps and cannot be found by ravens or enemies, symbolizes his elusive nature. The implications of Howland Reed's eventual emergence are immense. His testimony could definitively confirm Jon Snow's parentage, potentially legitimizing him as a Targaryen heir and drastically altering the political and succession landscape of the Seven Kingdoms. His insights into the events at Harrenhal and the Tower of Joy could reframe the entire history of Robert's rebellion, revealing hidden motives and secret pacts. Some even theorize that Howland might be operating in disguise elsewhere in Westeros, subtly influencing events. One particularly bold theory suggests he could be the High Sparrow, using religious authority to pursue justice against those who betrayed his friend Ned Stark. While this specific theory has significant flaws, it illustrates the perceived importance of Howland's role in the broader narrative. What is certain is that Howland Reed is not a forgotten relic of the past, but a crucial, albeit hidden player whose knowledge is a narrative bomb waiting to explode. His silence is a heavy weight in the story, and its breaking promises to be a moment of profound consequence. When will Howland Reed finally emerge from the shadows? And will his secrets save or destroy the remaining Starks and the realm itself? Theory 6. The Immortal Bolton. Is Rose an ancient vampire who wears his son's skins? The Lord of the Dreadfort's pale eyes and ageless appearance hint at a horrifying truth. Rose Bolton may be an ancient entity who maintains his immortality by flaying and wearing the skins of his own sons. This chilling theory, known as Bolt-on, suggests something far more ancient and unnatural lurks beneath Rose Bolton's pale skin. While the Lord of the Dreadfort is known to be calculating and cold, this theory proposes that Ruse is an entity, perhaps as old as the others or born of forgotten dark magic, who perpetuates his existence through a grotesque cycle, flaying his male heirs and wearing their skins, thereby taking over their identities. The key to this horrific succession is believed to lie in the distinctive pale eyes he shares with his bastard son, Ramsay. Textual descriptions repeatedly emphasize Rose's agelessness. Despite being past 40, he is described as unwrinkled, with scarce a line to tell the passage of time. There was an agelessness about him, a stillness. This observation, coupled with his face being described as a pale grey mask with 2 chips of dirty ice where his eyes should be, paints a picture of something not quite human. His peculiar habit of frequent leechings, which he claims is the secret of a long life, could be a mundane affectation, a misdirection, or a genuine component of his unnatural sustenance, perhaps echoing vampiric folklore. Rose's own explanation, that leeches remove bad blood, takes on a sinister new meaning if he is indeed an ancient entity needing to maintain a specific blood composition to facilitate his skin-changing abilities. The ancient and gruesome Bolton practice of flaying their enemies provides a disturbing foundation for such a theory. While the faceless men of Braavos demonstrate the magical ability to change faces, the Boltons, with their centuries of expertise in skin removal and the Dreadfort's relative proximity to Braavos, might have independently discovered or mastered a similar darker art. Rose's own actions regarding his sons fueled this speculation. He intended to kill the infant Ramsay Snow, but stayed his hand upon seeing the child's eyes, citing the kinslaying taboo, a moral stance that seems uncharacteristically scrupulous for a man who orchestrated the Red Wedding and conceived Ramsay through rape. The bolt-on theory suggests Rose spared Ramsay because those pale eyes marked him as a suitable future vessel. Conversely, it's speculated Rose may have orchestrated the death of his trueborn son, Domeric, precisely because Domeric did not share these crucial eyes. Perhaps most damning is Rose's cold pronouncement regarding his new wife, Fat Walder Frey, and any sons she might bear. Ramsay will kill them all, of course. That's for the best. I will not live long enough to see new sons to manhood. For a man in his 40s, this certainty of his own demise and Ramsay's murderous inheritance seems less like resignation and more like a chillingly pragmatic plan for his next incarnation. Old Nan's tales, often repositories of forgotten truths, speak of a man, possibly a Bolton, who fathered a child with a woman, skin as white as the moon, perhaps another, potentially seeding this unnatural lineage. The very name Bolt-on serves as a grim pun on Bolton and Bolt-on, hinting at the deception at the heart of the Dreadfort. This perspective recasts Rose's meticulous planning and emotionless cruelty, not merely as personality traits, but as the calculated necessities of an entity focused on perpetual survival. His infamous betrayals, therefore, might not be solely for immediate political gain, but part of a far longer game to ensure the Bolton lineage, and thus his future vessels, endures indefinitely. The flayed man on their sigil transforms from a mere symbol of terror into a literal, horrific representation of their lord's nature and his method of succession, a dark secret hidden in plain sight. Even Ramsay's pronounced sadism could be interpreted as a corrupted echo or a direct influence of the ancient entity already grooming him, or perhaps the grotesque merging has already begun. Is Rose Bolton truly a man at all, or has an ancient evil been wearing Bolton skin for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal its true nature? Theory 7. The Mummer's Dragon. Is Aegon Targaryen actually a Blackfire pretender? A silver-haired prince returns from the dead to reclaim his birthright, but something doesn't add up. Is young Griff truly Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar, or is he the culmination of a plan decades in the making? The sudden emergence of young Griff, presented as Aegon Targaryen, the infant son of Prince Rhaegar and Princess Elia Martell, believed to have been brutally murdered during the sack of King's Landing, has sent ripples of uncertainty and speculation throughout the Seven Kingdoms and beyond. Is he the miraculous survivor, the true heir to the Iron Throne, or an exquisitely crafted impostor, a Mummer's Dragon designed to deceive and conquer? The evidence is tantalizingly ambiguous, supporting both possibilities. Arguments for his legitimacy lean heavily on Varys the Spider's deathbed confession to a dying Sir Kevin Lannister. Varys details how Aegon was spirited away, replaced by a common babe whose head was smashed beyond recognition by Sir Gregor Clegane, and then meticulously shaped for rule in Essos, trained in arms, history, law, and the faith, even learning humility among fisher folk. Aegon's Valyrian features, purple eyes and silver gold hair, dyed blue in disguise, further support his Targaryen lineage. The unwavering devotion of Jon Connington, a close friend of Rhaegar, who has sacrificed everything to protect and guide his prince, also lends weight to Aegon's claim. Connington's internal thoughts never question Aegon's identity, suggesting genuine belief. However, a darker, more complex theory suggests Aegon is a Blackfyre, a descendant of Demon Blackfyre, the Targaryen bastard who plunged the realm into a series of devastating rebellions. The male line of Blackfyres is said to be extinct since the death of Meleys the Monstrous, but descent through a female line, or secret surviving sons, remains a possibility. Several prophetic utterances fuel this suspicion. In the House of the Undying, Daenerys Targaryen, hailed as the Slayer of Lies, witnesses a vision of a cloth dragon swayed on poles amid a cheering crowd, a potent symbol of a fraudulent Targaryen. The enigmatic Quaithe also warns Daenerys to beware the Mummer's dragon. Varys, a former mummer himself and a master of disguise and deception, is the architect of Aegon's return, making this moniker deeply resonant. Illyrio Mopatis, Varys's co-conspirator, further stokes these fires with his comment to Tyrion regarding the Golden Company's support for Aegon. Black or red, a dragon is still a dragon. The Golden Company, founded by Bittersteel, Aegor Rivers, a Blackfyre loyalist, has historically fought against the Targaryens for generations. Their sudden allegiance to a supposed Targaryen prince is highly suspect, unless that prince is, in fact, a Blackfyre, fulfilling their original purpose. Illyrio's deep, almost paternal affection for Aegon, and a statue in his manse resembling a younger version of himself or Aegon, has even led to speculation that Aegon might be Illyrio's own son by his late wife Sarah, who may have been of Blackfyre descent. Illyrio keeps Sarah's hands preserved, suggesting she had distinctive Valyrian features or significance. The Pisswater Prince story itself, of the switched babies, has inherent improbabilities. Varys would have needed extraordinary foresight to know the substitute infant would be killed in such a way as to be unrecognizable. Finding a baby with Valyrian features in King's Landing would also be exceptionally difficult, though not impossible if Varys had planned far in advance, perhaps knowing of King Aerys II's wildfire plot, which could have provided cover. Some argue Varys fabricated the survival story after the real Aegon's death, exploiting the doubt created by the mutilated corpse to launch his long-planned Blackfyre restoration. Even Kevan Lannister before his death expressed doubts, suggesting Aegon was merely a boy used in a plot to legitimize the Golden Company's invasion. Ultimately, Aegon's true identity remains one of the most critical unresolved questions. If he is a Blackfyre, his claim is built on a monumental lie, yet he has been raised to be the perfect prince. This sets the stage for a tragic conflict with Daenerys, the last confirmed Targaryen, potentially forcing her to become the Slayer of Lies by destroying a rival who may in many ways be a better ruler than those who currently vie for power. The Mummer's dragon may be a carefully constructed illusion, but illusions can have very real and devastating consequences. Is Aegon truly a dragon reborn from the ashes of Robert's rebellion? Or is he a black dragon painted red, a beautiful lie crafted by the spider and the cheesemonger? Theory 8. Secrets beneath Winterfell. What ancient power lies buried in the stark crypts? The ancient crypts beneath Winterfell, more extensive than the castle itself, call to Jon Snow in his dreams. What power or knowledge lies buried with the kings of winter that could tip the balance against the coming darkness? The crypts of Winterfell, a labyrinthine network of tombs extending far deeper and older than the castle above, are more than just a resting place for the kings of winter. They are a place of pervasive mystery, theorized to guard secrets vital to the past and future of House Stark and indeed all of Westeros. Jon Snow's frequent unsettling dreams of these crypts are a significant anchor for such speculation. He feels a profound compulsion to descend into their depths, yet is simultaneously terrified of what he might discover. Somehow I know I have to go down there, but I don't want to. I'm afraid of what might be waiting for me. In these visions, the stone likenesses of past Stark kings watch him with an unnerving stillness, and he often feels that no place has been set for me, hinting at his ambiguous heritage. Even Eddard Stark was haunted by dreams of the crypts, where Lyanna's statue would whisper her final cryptic plea. "Promise me, Ned." These shared dreams suggest a magical or psychic connection between the crypts and those with Stark blood, possibly activated by the dire circumstances facing the North and the resurgence of ancient powers. One of the most tantalizing theories concerns the possibility of dragon eggs hidden within the crypt's deepest recesses. The court-fool mushroom, whose testimony is a source of scandalous and sometimes surprisingly accurate information, alleged that Prince Jacaerys Velarion's dragon, Vermax, laid a clutch of eggs near the hot springs that run close to the crypt walls during the Dance of the Dragons. While Archmaester Gildain historically dismissed this claim, arguing Vermax was male, Maester Aemon's later musings that dragons are as changeable as flame, being neither strictly male nor female, lend new credence to Mushroom's tale. The geothermal heat from Winterfell's springs would provide the necessary warmth for incubation, and the lowest, partially collapsed levels of the crypts offer a perfect hiding place. Some interpret Bran's vision through summer during the burning of Winterfell, seeing a great winged snake whose roar was a river of flame, not as a metaphor, but as the literal hatching of one such dragon stirred by the conflagration above. The presence of hot springs beneath Winterfell, unusual for the North's cold climate, suggests volcanic activity that could have attracted dragons historically, as they are drawn to heat and volcanic regions like Dragonstone and Valyria. Beyond draconic secrets, the crypts are intrinsically linked to Lyanna Stark's untold story. Her prominent tomb and King Robert's unease at her being interred in such darkness suggest the crypts safeguard more than just her remains. Some speculate items proving Jon's Targaryen heritage, perhaps a harp, dragon egg, or marriage cloak, might be hidden within her tomb. The tradition of placing iron longswords across the laps of the entombed Starks, said to keep vengeful spirits bound, is broken in places. Lady Barbary Dustin notes the swords of Brandon and Lyanna Stark, and one older king, are missing. This absence could signify a broken pact, a secret taken, or a power unleashed. Ancient legends speak of the kings of winter possessing magical abilities, perhaps similar to those manifesting in their descendants as warging or greensight. The ancient legend of Bael the Bard, who hid with Lord Brandon Stark's daughter and their infant son, a future Lord Stark, within these very crypts, establishes them as a sanctuary for hidden lineages and Stark survival. This precedent suggests the crypts may again serve as a place of concealment and revelation in the current story. The crypts may also hold knowledge of how the others were defeated during the Long Night, possibly connected to the mysterious figure of the Night's King, a former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who may have had Stark blood. The persistent emphasis on winter is coming, and the Stark connection to ice magic suggests their ancestors may have played a crucial role in defeating or perhaps even controlling the others. Jon's persistent dreams, therefore, may be more than mere anxiety. They could be a form of nascent greensight or a magical calling, drawing him towards a truth or power crucial for his destiny, deeply intertwined with the old gods and his Stark or perhaps Targaryen blood. The potential presence of dragon eggs transforms the crypts into a symbolic crucible of ice, Stark, Winterfell, and fire, Targaryen dragons, gestating directly beneath the heart of the North, a potent emblem for Jon's own dual heritage, should R+L=J prove true. What ancient pact or power rests with the kings of winter? And why do the crypts call so insistently to Jon Snow, a bastard who should have no place among them? Theory 9. The Bloody Paste. Was Jojen Reed sacrificed to awaken Bran's powers? Deep in the cave of the three-eyed crow, Bran Stark consumes a mysterious paste with red veins that looked remarkably like blood. But whose blood is it? And did Jojen Reed pay the ultimate price for Bran's ascension? Deep within the subterranean caves of the last Green Seer, north of the Wall, Bran Stark undergoes a profound transformation, one that may have come at a horrifying cost. The Jojen Paste theory, one of the darkest and most debated among lore enthusiasts, posits that Jojen Reed, Bran's young companion and a Green Seer himself, is ritually sacrificed, his blood or flesh incorporated into a weirwood paste fed to Bran to unlock or amplify his latent powers. The textual basis for this grim speculation is chilling. Bran is given a white paste, thick and heavy with dark red veins running through it, served in a weirwood bowl by Leaf, one of the children of the forest. She tells him, "You must eat of this. This will help awaken your gifts and wed you to the trees." Bran himself observes that the red veins looked remarkably like blood in the torchlight, though Leaf claims it is merely a paste of weirwood seeds. Jojen's state leading up to this moment is crucial to the theory. He becomes increasingly frail, despondent, and withdrawn within the cave. He speaks often of his impending death, seemingly resigned to a fate he has foreseen in his own green dreams. He will not even try and fight his fate. He says the green dreams do not lie, Mira tells Bran. Jojen himself states, "Today is not the day I die," implying he knows when that day will come, and later, "My part in this is done." His conspicuous absence when Bran consumes the mysterious paste is deeply unsettling. The world of A Song of Ice and Fire is rife with blood magic and sacrifice. It is a known and potent force. The old gods and the weirwood trees themselves are anciently associated with blood sacrifice. Indeed, after consuming the paste, Bran has a vision of a man being sacrificed before a heart tree in Winterfell's Godswood, his blood seeping into its roots. The idea that death pays for life or power is a recurring thematic undercurrent. If Jojen, a Green Seer, were consumed, his essence could theoretically merge with Bran's, significantly boosting his abilities. Bran's vision immediately after consuming the paste is telling. He sees through the heart tree in Winterfell, witnessing a sacrifice from centuries ago. This connection between consuming the paste and seeing blood sacrifice reinforces the thematic link. The children of the forest and Bloodraven, ancient entities with morally ambiguous methods, might view such a sacrifice as necessary for the greater purpose of preparing Bran for his role in the coming battle against the others. Jojen's own powers of greensight may make him uniquely suitable for such a sacrifice. His green dreams never lie, giving him a connection to the same magical force that Bran is learning to tap into. By consuming Jojen, Bran might inherit or absorb some portion of this established connection, accelerating his development as a Green Seer. However, counter-arguments exist. The paste could genuinely be weirwood seeds and sap, as weirwood sap is known to be red. Jojen's foreseen fate might not be to become paste. His sister Mira is also notably absent when Bran eats, and she possesses no known green gifts that would make her a candidate for such a ritual. The children also provide other food sources in the cave, including mushrooms, fish, goat's milk, and a blood stew, thought to be squirrel or rat meat, suggesting they aren't necessarily reliant on cannibalism for ritual or sustenance. George R.R. Martin's reference to Bran's experience as a green ceremony might imply a more symbolic, less literal form of sacrifice or union. Nevertheless, the Jojen paste theory, whether ultimately true or false, underscores the terrifying cost and morally ambiguous nature of profound magical power in this world. It suggests that abilities like green sight are not attained without a heavy price, potentially involving the loss of innocence or a descent into primal, unsettling practices. If Jojen was indeed sacrificed, it frames Bloodraven and the children of the forest not as benevolent mentors, but as ancient, pragmatic entities willing to sacrifice individuals for what they perceive as a greater good, making Bran a potent, but perhaps unwitting tool in their millennia-old designs. The very ambiguity forces a confrontation with the unsettling possibility that Bran's journey into the heart of ancient magic involves him unknowingly participating in an act of profound darkness. Did Bran unwittingly consume his friend to gain his power? And if so, what other moral lines will he cross as he transforms into the three-eyed crow theory? 10. The anti-magic conspiracy. Are the Masters secretly destroying magic in Westeros? Behind their chains and scholarly demeanor, the Masters of the Citadel may be waging a secret war against magic itself. Did they orchestrate the death of the dragons, and what other powers have they suppressed to maintain their control? Beneath the guise of impartial scholarship and service, a shadowy agenda may drive the Order of Maesters, a concerted effort to systematically dismantle magic in Westeros and usher in an age of reason, an age they alone would dominate. This Meister conspiracy theory posits that these men of learning view magic not merely with skepticism, but as a dangerous, unpredictable force antithetical to their world order and a direct threat to their intellectual authority. The most direct articulation of this comes from the rebellious Archmaester Marwyn, known as the Mage, who cautioned Samwell Tarly at the Citadel. Marwyn explicitly accuses his colleagues. Who do you think killed all the dragons the last time around? Gallant dragon slayers armed with swords. The world the Citadel is building has no place in it for sorcery or prophecy or glass candles, much less for dragons. He further warned Sam that the Maesters would likely seek to eliminate him due to his association with Daenerys Targaryen and her nascent dragons. Marwyn, an outlier who openly studies the higher mysteries, provides a crucial, if biased, insider's perspective on the Citadel's potential hidden machinations. Subtler evidence can be found in the actions and teachings of seemingly loyal Maesters. Maester Luwin of Winterfell, for example, consistently dismissed Bran Stark's burgeoning magical abilities and Old Nan's tales of the children of the forest and giants as mere superstition. He even claimed his own Valyrian steel link, forged by those who study magic, was worn only to demonstrate that magic is a myth. Such teachings, whether born of genuine disbelief or adherence to the Order's doctrine, serve to marginalize magical belief. The Maesters' pervasive influence throughout the Seven Kingdoms, with a representative in nearly every castle advising lords and educating heirs, grants them unparalleled access to power and the shaping of young minds. Their control over the writing of histories and long-distance communication via ravens further solidifies their capacity to manage information and promote their preferred narrative. The declining size of dragons kept in the dragon pit in King's Landing over generations could be seen as evidence of subtle interference, perhaps through poisoning or breeding manipulation. Their motives are likely multifaceted, a philosophical preference for a world governed by logic and observable science, a genuine fear of magic's destructive potential, and undoubtedly the preservation and expansion of their own power and relevance in a world where magic presents a rival system of knowledge and influence. The resurgence of magic following the birth of Daenerys' dragons represents a direct challenge to the order they've worked centuries to establish. The methods of this supposed conspiracy could range from subtle indoctrination and historical revisionism to more direct interventions. These might include the poisoning of dragons or the deliberate stunting of their growth, the quiet discouragement of belief in prophecy and the old gods, and even the manipulation of political events to weaken factions aligned with magic, such as the Targaryens. Some theorists suggest the Maesters might have subtly fanned the flames of the Dance of the Dragons, ensuring dragon fought dragon, thereby hastening their decline. They might also have sought to corrupt or neutralize dragon eggs to prevent future hatchings. The contradictions in historical accounts about whether dragons died out before or after the doom of Valyria could be evidence of historical revisionism by the Order. This conspiracy, if true, is not just about eradicating magic, but about establishing a new paradigm where their intellectual and scientific authority is supreme, effectively making them the unseen arbiters of Westeros. The existence of mavericks like Marwyn and the disgraced Qyburn, who pursued forbidden knowledge, suggests that this anti-magic doctrine might not be monolithic within the Citadel, hinting at internal ideological struggles over the nature and limits of acceptable knowledge. The fact that the glass candles, obsidian artifacts used for seeing across vast distances and possibly for communication, are suddenly burning again after centuries of dormancy is a sign that the Maesters' carefully constructed world order is beginning to crumble. As Marwyn tells Sam, the glass candles are burning. Soon comes the Pale Mare, and after her the others, Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son and the Mummer's Dragon. Ultimately, the Maesters' pursuit of a rational world by suppressing one form of ancient power, fire magic, could inadvertently create an imbalance, perhaps even contributing to the resurgence of another, far colder threat from beyond the wall, making their grand design ironically pave the way for an existential magical catastrophe. Have the grey sheep of the Citadel been pulling Westeros' strings for centuries? And what will happen to their carefully constructed order now that dragons have returned to the world? Theory 11. The Drowned Prophet. Is Patchface channeling eldritch horrors from the deep, a simple fool with cryptic rhymes that too often come true? After drowning for 3 days, what returned in Patchface's body? And why does even Melisandre fear what she sees in his future? Patchface, the motley fool of Dragonstone and companion to Princess Shireen Baratheon, is a figure of profound unease and mystery. Once a clever and nimble slave boy from Volantis, renowned for his wit and juggling, he was purchased by Lord Steffan Baratheon to entertain his sons. However, the shipwreck that claimed Lord Steffan and his wife also seemingly claimed Patchface. He washed ashore 3 days later, his skin cold as ice, his memory and intellect shattered. Fisherfolk whisper a chilling tale that a mermaid taught him to breathe water in exchange for his seed during those lost days beneath the waves. Though he survived, he returned fundamentally changed, speaking only in disjointed sea-themed rhymes and riddles. Yet many of these utterances possess an uncanny, often terrifying prophetic accuracy. His song, Fool's Blood, King's Blood, blood on the maiden's thigh, but chains for the guests and chains for the bridegroom, I, is widely interpreted as a chillingly precise foretelling of the Red Wedding, referencing the deaths of Jingle Bell the Fool, various kings, and the betrayal of the Starks. Another rhyme, under the sea, smoke rises in bubbles, and flames burn green and blue and black, sung as the statues of the Seven were burned on Dragonstone, accurately described the colors of wildfire and magical conflagrations. His constant, obsessive references to what lies under the sea, where it snows up and the rain is dry as bone, where mermen feast on starfish soup and all the serving men are crabs, are more than just the ramblings of a broken mind. They suggest a horrifying glimpse into an alien realm, possibly the domain of the Ironborn's drowned god, or something far older and more sinister, like the Lovecraftian Deep Ones. The Red Priestess Melisandre, a powerful sorceress in her own right, regards Patchface with palpable fear. She confesses to Jon Snow, "That creature is dangerous. Many a time I have glimpsed him in my flames. Sometimes there are skulls about him, and his lips are red with blood." This admission from a woman who traffics with shadows and fire underscores the genuinely dark nature of Patchface's connection. Some theories even link him to the dreamers of the world, like Bloodraven, suggesting his prophetic state is a twisted form of greensight, his visions bubbling up from the abyssal depths rather than the weirwood roots. Patchface's drowning may have been less a near-death experience and more a dark baptism, a pact or forced communion with an alien consciousness from the lightless sea that now uses him as its unwilling oracle. His chilling transformation, the cold skin, the shattered intellect, yet imbued with this specific sea-bound prophetic power, points to an encounter far stranger than simple survival. Some theories suggest Patchface may be a servant or vessel of the drowned god himself, whose nature and intentions remain largely unknown. The Ironborn say, "What is dead may never die, but rises again, harder and stronger," which eerily parallels Patchface's own death and resurrection. His prophetic abilities could be a gift, or curse, from this entity, making him a counterpoint to Melisandre and her visions from R'hllor. Other darker theories propose that Patchface encountered something even more ancient than the drowned, God in the depths, perhaps one of the deep ones spoken of in Maester Theron's strange stone, or a manifestation of the great other that opposes R'hllor. The consistent theme of cold associated with Patchface, his skin as cold as ice when found, his talk of cold water, aligns with the imagery of the others beyond the wall. His proximity to Shireen Baratheon, who survived grayscale, a disease rumored to have originated from the doom of Valyria and linked to stone men, adds another layer of magical significance. Could Patchface's sea-born visions and Shireen's survival of a supposedly mystical disease be connected to larger forces moving in the world? Melisandre's profound unease likely stems from recognizing his power source as antithetical to her Lord of Light, perhaps an aquatic manifestation of the Great Other, or an unrelated chaotic force of comparable magnitude. Unlike those who interpret visions through faith or agenda, Patchface simply sings what he knows, his disturbing rhymes potentially offering raw, unfiltered glimpses into the magical currents of the world. A direct line to the terrifying song of the deep. What horror from the deep now speaks through Patchface's broken mind? And what apocalyptic vision has he glimpsed that makes even Melisandre tremble? Theory 12. The Eldritch Apocalypse. Is Euron Greyjoy attempting to become a Lovecraftian god? A pirate king with a dragon horn, Valyrian steel armor, and a taste for warlock blood? Is Euron Greyjoy merely seeking conquest, or is he preparing a ritual to bring about the end of the world and his own apotheosis? Euron Greyjoy the Crow's Eye transcends the image of a mere Reaver king. He emerges from the shadows of myth and madness as a potent sorceress figure, one whose ambitions may extend to godhood itself and whose methods court apocalyptic power. His arsenal of magical artifacts and claimed experiences sets him apart. He wields Dragonbinder, a massive black horn allegedly found in the smoking ruins of Valyria, said to bind dragons to its master's will, though its sounding brings death to the blower. He is clad in Valyrian steel armor, a treasure of immense rarity and power, hinting at dark journeys or plundered secrets. His constant consumption of Shade of the Evening, the potent elixir of the warlocks of Korth, stains his lips blue, and grants him, or allows him to inflict upon others, terrifying prophetic visions. His younger brother, the priest Aaron Damper, endures such an ordeal in the harrowing chapter The Forsaken, where, force-fed the substance, he beholds Euron enthroned upon skulls, with gods impaled around him, and sees his brother transform into a monstrous, blood-eyed kraken deity, as Euron proclaims, "A new god shall be born from the graves and charnel pits." These visions suggest Euron's quest is not for a mere earthly crown, but for apotheosis, to become a dark god of the sea and terror. The Eldritch Apocalypse theory posits that Euron intends to awaken ancient Lovecraftian entities slumbering in the oceanic depths, perhaps the true monstrous form of the drowned god, or something far older and more terrible. His possession of a horn that can allegedly summon krakens, mentioned by Makoro to Victarion, supports this connection to primordial sea power. Whispers suggest he might summon krakens through blood sacrifice to annihilate enemy fleets, such as the Red Wine Fleet guarding the Reach. His very nickname, the Crow's Eye, and his patched left eye, which Theon describes as a black eye shining with malice, evoke a sense of seeing into forbidden realms. His declared ambition is boundless. "I am not a man for small things," he scoffs, dismissing the more limited goals of his kin. His actions seem driven by a profound nihilism and a desire for power that revels in chaos and destruction for its own sake. His crew of mutes with tongues torn out, and his practice of feeding Shade of the Evening, and possibly worse substances, to his captive warlocks and even his own brother, indicate a man who views others as mere tools or components in his grand design. Euron's magic appears distinct from the fire-based sorcery of Valyria or the nature-centric powers of the Children of the Forest. It represents a third, terrifying elemental force, one of water, the abyss, and the void, seeking to corrupt or consume all else. The drowned god of the Ironborn, under Euron's influence, warps from a deity of resilience, what is dead may never die, into a harbinger of cosmic dread and the subjugation of all other faiths, as seen in Aaron's visions. This implies Euron is either tapping into a primal, pre-civilized iteration of this sea cult, or using it as a conduit for an even more malevolent power, perhaps linked to the mysterious Deep Ones or entities from the Shadowlands near Ashai. His use of Shade of the Evening transcends personal enlightenment. It is a tool of psychological warfare and spiritual enslavement, shattering minds and binding wills, transforming his captives into more than mere thralls, but broken acolytes of his burgeoning, horrific divinity. Euron's plot appears to center on a massive blood sacrifice at Old Town, possibly using the city's entire population. His attack on the Shield Islands and subsequent movement towards Old Town, combined with the strange preparations witnessed by Aaron, pregnant women lashed to the prows of ships, suggest a ritual of unprecedented scale. The proximity of the Citadel, with its vast repository of magical knowledge, and the High Tower, built upon foundations of the same oily black stone found in other places of power like Ashai and the Iron Islands Sea Stone Chair, makes Old Town the perfect focal point for such a working. The timing is equally significant, occurring as winter descends and the long night approaches, when the barriers between worlds grow thin. Euron's apocalyptic ritual could be designed to take advantage of this weakening, allowing him to tap into powers normally beyond mortal reach. His ultimate goal may be to trigger a magical cataclysm that reshapes reality itself, with him at its center. Not just a king of men, but a god among the ruins of the world. He is not just a pirate. He is a prophet of a new dark age, and the seas themselves seem to stir in anticipation of his terrible designs. Is Euron merely mad, or has he truly glimpsed knowledge beyond human understanding? And if his ritual succeeds, will anything of our world remain? Theory 13, the Lovecraftian ruins. What ancient race built the oily black stone structures? From Ashai to the Iron Islands, mysterious structures of oily black stone that drinks light connect distant parts of the world. What forgotten civilization built them, and why do they share properties with the eldritch forces stirring in the present day? Scattered across the known world, from the shadowed city of Ashai to the desolate jungles of Sothorios and the ancient foundations of Westerosi strongholds, lie enigmatic structures built from a peculiar black stone. Often described as oily or greasy to the touch, these stones possess unnatural properties. The architecture of Ashai is said to drink light, casting the city in perpetual gloom, while the Cyclopean ruins of Yin in Sothorios mysteriously repel all jungle growth, remaining bare for millennia. These are not the only instances. The sea stone chair of the Iron Islands, legend says, was found on the shores of Old Wick, carved from this same oily black material. On the Basilisk Isles, the Isle of Toads hosts a massive, greasy black toad statue, and its inhabitants are rumored to possess fish-like webbed appendages. Even in Westeros, the labyrinthine fortress forming the base of the High Tower in Old Town is constructed of a fused black stone, unadorned and ancient, predating any Valyrian presence. Similarly, the 5 forts in distant Yitai are built of massive slabs of fused black stone, their origins lost to time before the Golden Empire. These disparate structures, linked by their unique material and unnatural qualities, hint at a forgotten, globe-spanning civilization whose power and magic were profoundly different from those known to current history. Maester Theron, in his controversial treatise, Strange Stone, proposed a connection between the High Tower's base and the Sea Stone Chair, attributing their creation to the Deep Ones, a legendary, queer, misshapen race of half-men sired by creatures of the salt seas upon human women. The amphibious nature of the people near the Toadstone lends credence to this chilling hypothesis. Other theories point to the maze makers of Lorath, or even a people so ancient they had no name, who, according to Ashai lore, first tamed dragons in the Shadowlands. The legend of the Bloodstone Emperor of the Great Empire of the Dawn, who cast down true gods to worship a black stone that had fallen from the sky and founded the sinister Church of Starry Wisdom, offers another tantalizing cosmic link. This fallen star theory has particularly ominous implications, suggesting these structures might be remnants of an extraterrestrial origin, their properties alien to the natural world. The fact that the material absorbs light in Ashai, repels life in Yin, and maintains its oily texture for millennia despite exposure to the elements hints at properties beyond natural stone. The locations of these structures show a pattern. They tend to appear near coastlines or significant bodies of water, suggesting their builders had a connection to the sea or arrived by water. This aligns with legends of the Deep Ones and their supposed amphibious nature. If such beings existed, they may represent an entire branch of intelligent life, separate from the known races of men, giants, and children of the forest. The oily, black stones, therefore, may be more than mere building materials. They could be conduits or solidified remnants of an ancient, possibly malevolent form of magic that warps life and light. Their consistent oily or greasy nature, coupled with properties like light absorption or growth inhibition, suggests a common, perhaps corrupting origin. The recurring association of these stones with coastal or island locations and aquatic or amphibious humanoids strongly implies that this ancient power was sea-based, perhaps seeking to merge or corrupt the terrestrial world. The Bloodstone Emperors. Worship of a fallen starstone could even be the unifying origin myth for all such structures, suggesting a singular cosmic event seeded the world with this material and its associated dark magic, linking these far-flung sites to a single, terrifying source. If the material is indeed extraterrestrial, It could represent an entirely different magical system than the fire magic of Valyria or the nature magic of the Children of the Forest, a third force of cosmic origin. The present-day significance of these ancient structures becomes apparent when considering characters like Euron Greyjoy, whose ambitions and methods echo the darker aspects of these forgotten powers. His possession of the Seastone Chair, his consumption of Shade of the Evening, which also has a blue-black oily appearance, and his apparent communion with forces from the deep suggest he may be tapping into the same primordial magic that once empowered the builders of the black stone structures. These relics whisper of a history far older and stranger than that of first men or Valyrians, a world once dominated by forces from the lightless depths or the cold void between stars. As magic returns to the world and ancient powers stir, these forgotten structures may once again become conduits for powers beyond human comprehension. What civilization built monuments across the entire known world? And what cataclysm erased them so completely that even their name is lost to time? Theory 14. The Shadow Beyond Asshai. What secrets lie in the oldest city in the world? At the edge of the known world stands a city built of black stone where no children are born and food must be imported. Beyond it lies the Shadowlands, where dragons may still dwell. Is Asshai the key to understanding the first and most powerful magic in the world? Asshai by the Shadow, the easternmost and most forbidding of known cities, is a place steeped in sorcery and unsettling antiquity. Its very fabric is alien, built entirely of an oily black stone that feels greasy to the touch and seems to absorb light, rendering even the brightest days gray and gloomy. Though the city sprawls for leagues, vast enough to contain Volantis, Karth, and King's Landing combined, its population is no greater than a market town. Only one building in 10 shows a light. An eerie desolation hangs over Asshai. No children are born or live within its walls, and animals such as horses and dogs, when brought there by ship, soon perish. The waters of the river Ash, which bisects the city, are black and polluted, its fish blind and twisted, inedible to all but fools and shadowbinders. All food and fresh water must be imported from afar. Those who walk its deserted streets are masked and veiled, moving with a furtive air, often alone. They include shadowbinders, warlocks, blood mages, necromancers, and worse, practitioners of forbidden arts from across the known world who find in Asshai a haven for their dark studies. The city is said to welcome 3 groups above all others: sorcerers, those who covet their knowledge, and those who traffic in their flesh. Yet, for all its grimness, Asshai is a magnet for those who delve into the darkest arts and seek forbidden lore. It is said to house the world's oldest texts and annals, and dragon lore is rumored to persist there. Indeed, Magister Illyrio Mopatis procured Daenerys Targaryen's dragon eggs from Asshai. This connection to dragons is profound. Ancient Asshai histories, impossibly old, claim that a people so ancient they had no name first tamed dragons in the shadow, the menacing lands stretching east of Asshai, and brought them to Valyria, teaching the Valyrians their arts before departing from the annals. Dragons themselves are still rumored to dwell in the unexplored depths of the Shadowlands. This hints that Asshai and its shadowed hinterlands might be the true cradle of dragon power, the seat of a precursor civilization whose knowledge was later inherited and perhaps imperfectly replicated by the Valyrian freehold. Theories link Asshai to the legendary Great Empire of the Dawn, which flourished before the Long Night and whose catastrophic fall under the Bloodstone Emperor, a worshipper of a black stone who practiced necromancy, might explain Asshai's current blighted state. The enigmatic Quaithe repeatedly urges Daenerys to journey to Asshai, stating, "To go forward you must go back, and to touch the light you must pass beneath the shadow," suggesting a vital, perhaps dangerous truth awaits her there. The Shadow. Lands beyond Asshai are even more mysterious. Few travelers venture there and fewer return. Those who do speak of ghost grass that glows in the dark and grows taller than a man on horseback, mountains that burn continuously, and vast abandoned ruins that predate even Asshai itself. Some believe these are the remnants of the civilization that first tamed dragons, perhaps the birthplace of the great empire of the Dawn. The nature of Asshai's corruption remains one of its most disturbing mysteries. Its black river, lifeless environment, and the prohibition against children suggest an ancient catastrophe, perhaps magical in nature, that permanently tainted the land. Some theorize this could be the result of a ritual gone wrong, similar to but predating the doom of Valyria. Others suggest it might be the consequence of prolonged exposure to dark magic, the cumulative effect of millennia of forbidden practices. Melisandre of Asshai, a red priestess of R'hllor, represents one of the few characters directly connected to this mysterious city. Her powers, including shadow binding and prophecy, are stronger than those of other red priests in the story, suggesting Asshai's magic may be particularly potent. Her connection to both fire, R'hllor, and shadow, her assassin shadows, hints at Asshai's place at the intersection of multiple magical traditions. Asshai's current condition, its toxicity, its lifelessness, strongly suggests a magical catastrophe, an overreach in sorcery by its ancient inhabitants that poisoned the very land, making it a living ruin far older and perhaps more insidious than the doom of Valyria. The masked inhabitants are likely not natives of this cursed place, but pilgrims of the arcane, drawn by the residual perilous magic. Their masks, a necessity against the blighted air, or a ritualistic requirement for their dark pursuits. If the people so ancient they had no name were indeed the first dragon riders and originated from this region, their oily black stone architecture could link Asshai to the other similar, inexplicable structures found globally, positioning it as the dark, decaying heart of a forgotten world power, whose secrets now lie buried beneath layers of shadow and fear. What knowledge lies in Asshai that could reveal the true nature of dragons and magic? And is the city's corruption a warning of what happens when that knowledge is misused? Theory 15. The Eastern Wall. Were the 5 forts built to defend against the same enemy? As the wall, on the eastern edge of known Essos stand 5 colossal fortresses of fused black stone, each 1,000 feet tall. Were they built to defend against the same threat as Westeros's wall, and does their existence prove the others once threatened the entire world? In the far northeastern reaches of Essos, guarding the borders of the Golden Empire of Yi, stand the 5 forts, a line of colossal ancient strongholds whose origins are shrouded in legend. Constructed from great slabs of single-fused black stone, their walls soar almost 1,000 feet high, each fort capable of garrisoning 10,000 men. These monumental structures predate not only the current Golden Empire, but even the Valyrian freehold itself, linking them to the deepest strata of known history. Yitish legends attribute their construction to the Pearl Emperor, a ruler of the mythical Great Empire of the Dawn, who supposedly raised them to defend his realm against the demons of the Lion of Night, a malevolent deity or force from their ancient pantheon. Today, they ostensibly guard against raiders from the desolate, grey waste that lies to their northeast. The nature of the threat they were built to repel is a subject of much speculation. The demons of the Lion of Night could be a cultural interpretation of a menace similar to the others of Westeros, or perhaps another distinct supernatural enemy that plagued the world during a forgotten age akin to the Long Night. The location of the forts, forming a barrier between the habitable lands of Yi Ti and the mysterious hostile territories to the northeast like the Grey Waste, the land of the Shrikes, and the Cannibal Sands. Mirrors the strategic placement of the wall in Westeros, which separates the Seven Kingdoms from the haunted forests and frozen wastes beyond. The five forts effectively utilize natural barriers connecting the mountains of the Morn to the Bleeding Sea, much as the wall incorporates mountain ranges. However, unlike the continuous wall, the five forts are distinct structures, leading some to theorize they functioned more as heavily fortified castles controlling passes and strategic points rather than an unbroken, impenetrable barrier. The fused black stone construction is particularly intriguing as it implies an advanced magical technology capable of shaping stone on an immense scale, a craft later associated with Valyrian dragon lords, but here appearing much earlier in history. This suggests that the great empire of the Dawn, the probable builders, possessed a powerful magical tradition that may have been ancestral to or an independent parallel of Valyrian abilities. The five forts thus stand as silent, imposing evidence of a global, long night event or a recurring worldwide threat that necessitated such massive, magically enhanced defenses in disparate parts of the world. The Lion of Night itself may be the socio-cultural iteration of the same fundamental antagonistic force that Westeros knows as the Great Other, pointing to a shared mythological dread that haunted ancient civilizations across continents. The parallel between the Night's Watch and the soldiers who garrison the five forts extends beyond their defensive purpose. The Westerosi sworn brothers dress in black, while the Yetish warriors are described as the middle daughter of the Emperor, who dresses in purple, lilac, and pale blue. Both groups defend against threats from the north-northeast. Both guard ancient, impossibly massive structures, and both may have originally been founded to combat supernatural enemies rather than human raiders. Some theories suggest that if the others do indeed represent an existential threat to all of humanity, not just Westeros, then the five forts may soon face a similar awakening of ancient evils from the Grey Waste. The timing would align with the rising power of the others beyond the wall, suggesting a global resurgence of these forces. Exploring the connections further, both the wall and the five forts are positioned on similar latitudes, suggesting they might form part of a coordinated global defense system. This would imply communication and cooperation between ancient civilizations separated by vast distances, or perhaps a single, globe-spanning culture that recognized and prepared for a common threat. The Grey Waste itself deserves consideration. Described as a barren, hostile land, it bears similarities to the lands of Always Winter beyond the wall. Could it harbor a second enclave of others or similar beings? Might there be ancient structures there, parallel to whatever lies in the heart of the lands of Always Winter, where the others are said to come from? These fortresses are more than just ancient military architecture. They are monuments to a forgotten war against an unknown darkness, a testament to an age when demons, or something very like them, stalked the edges of the world. Their continued existence suggests that whatever threat they were built to contain may not have been destroyed, merely contained, waiting for the right moment to return. Do the five forts and the wall form 2 points in a global defense system? And if the others have breached the wall in the west, what ancient horror might soon emerge from the Grey Waste in the east? Theory 16. The Doom of Valyria. What really destroyed the greatest civilization in history? Continued. Such a plot would represent the ultimate fulfillment of their founding purpose, to end suffering through death applied on a civilization-wide scale. The timing would have required extraordinary coordination and patience, as the simultaneous eruption of all 14 flames suggests a precisely orchestrated event rather than a cascading natural disaster. Internal strife among the powerful Dragon Lord, Families offers another avenue for human-caused disaster. Feuds could have escalated to the point where rival houses targeted each other's fire mages, inadvertently destabilizing the entire system. The Valyrian freehold was ruled by competing families of dragon lords, and historical accounts mention increasing tensions and magical duels in the decades preceding the Doom. Perhaps one such conflict escalated beyond control, with catastrophic consequences. Beyond these, tales of external curses and divine retribution persist. The legendary curse of Garin the Great, a Rhoynish prince whose people were annihilated by the Valyrians, is sometimes invoked, linking the Doom to the origin of Grayscale in the Sorrows. According to legend, Garin called upon the River God to destroy the Valyrian conquerors. While the immediate effect was a fog that brought Grayscale to the Valyrian army, some suggest his curse continued to work slowly, eventually culminating in the Doom. Some followers of Arala believe the Doom was the fire god's judgment upon the polytheistic and hubristic Valyrians. The Red Priests might interpret the Doom as a purification, cleansing the world of Valyrian excess and preparing the way for a new age under their Lord of Light. The most compelling evidence of some foreknowledge or fated element is the prophetic dream of Daenerys Targaryen. 12 years before the cataclysm, Daenerys the Dreamer envisioned Valyria's destruction with such clarity that she convinced her father, Enar, to relocate House Targaryen to the remote outpost of Dragonstone, thus ensuring their survival. Her vision suggests a predetermined aspect to the Doom, perhaps as the culmination of forces set in motion long before. The aftermath of the Doom is equally mysterious. The smoking sea that now surrounds the Valyrian peninsula is said to boil, and ships that venture too close vanish without trace. The ruins themselves are reportedly haunted by demons, and strange, twisted creatures are said to stalk the shattered remnants of the once great cities. These persistent supernatural effects suggest the Doom was more than merely geological in nature. Intriguingly, Tyrion Lannister notes that the proudest city in all the world was gone in an instant, its fabled empire vanished in a day, the lands of the long summer scorched and drowned and blighted. This description evokes not just volcanic destruction, but multiple forms of catastrophe, fire, flood, and plague, as if multiple forces converged to ensure Valyria's complete annihilation. The Doom was not merely a political collapse, but a fundamental shift in the world's magical equilibrium, perhaps triggered by an overextension of power that incurred a terrible price, as suggested by theories on magic requiring balance and life force. If the Faceless Men were indeed responsible, their actions transcend simple vengeance. They may perceive themselves as agents of a cosmic rebalancing, delivering a grand gift of death to an unnatural and oppressive empire, thereby restoring a grim equilibrium. Daenerys' prophecy, meanwhile, implies the Doom was observable through magical means, suggesting its roots lay in forces resonating within the very fabric of the world, a consequence woven into the deep magical currents rather than a random geological event. The smoking ruins and demon-haunted seas where Valyria once stood serve as a terrifying testament to a power lost and a warning of the catastrophic potential inherent in unchecked ambition and arcane might. Was the Doom a natural disaster, a magical accident, deliberate sabotage, or divine retribution? And what does its cause tell us about the limits of power in a world where magic is returning? Theory 17. The Children's Dark Secret. Did the children of the forest create the White Walkers? The diminutive, nature-loving children of the forest are presented as victims of human expansion. But what if they harbored darker secrets? Did they create the White Walkers as weapons against humanity, and are they now using Bran Stark for an agenda more complex than survival? The children of the forest, The diminutive ancient inhabitants of Westeros are often portrayed as enigmatic but ultimately benevolent nature spirits, allies in the primordial struggle against the others. However, a more unsettling theory suggests that their motives are far more complex, perhaps even harboring a deep-seated patient animosity towards humankind, the invaders who felled their sacred weirwoods and drove them to the brink of extinction. Their alliance with Bran Stark, therefore, might be less about saving humanity and more about advancing their own ancient agenda. The most provocative piece of evidence, highlighted in the television adaptation, yet echoing ambiguities in the books, is the claim that the children themselves created the others as a desperate weapon against the First Men during their ancient wars. If true, this act alone speaks to a capacity for wielding world-altering, catastrophic power to achieve their ends. Did they truly lose control of this creation? Or is there a lingering connection, a deeper strategy still at play? The history of Westeros is scarred by the children's conflict with men. The arrival of the First Men led to the destruction of vast weirwood forests, sacred to the children, sparking a brutal war. In their desperation, the children employed powerful magic, such as the Hammer of the Waters that shattered the Arm of Dawn, in a futile attempt to halt the human advance. The eventual pact, signed on the Isle of Faces, which granted humanity the open lands while confining the children to the deep forests, was forged only after the children were greatly diminished. This suggests a peace born of necessity and defeat, not genuine reconciliation. The later invasion of the Andals brought further destruction of weirwoods and persecution of the children. Their vast weirwood network, through which greenseers like Bloodraven and Bran can perceive events across time and space, 1,000 eyes, 100 skins, serves not only as a repository of memory, but also as a potential instrument of surveillance and influence, one that could be wielded for their own long-term goals. The children's oft-mentioned commitment to balance could be interpreted ominously. From their perspective, humanity's unchecked expansion and dominance represent a profound imbalance in the natural order, one that might require drastic correction. The few remaining children may be the last survivors of a once great civilization, now playing a long game of survival and perhaps restoration. Examining Leaf's actions and words more closely reveals potential duplicity. When Bran asks if the children can help him walk again, she responds, "You will never walk again, but you will fly." This cryptic promise evokes his potential warging abilities, but also suggests the children may be grooming him for a specific purpose beyond his understanding or consent. Their physical description, nut-brown skin dappled like a deer's with paler spots, evokes camouflage, suggesting a natural propensity for concealment and subterfuge. The ritual that Bloodraven conducts, having Bran consume weirwood paste to enhance his greenseer abilities, bears unsettling parallels to the darker aspects of their magic. The paste, described as having red veins that looked remarkably like blood, could be symbolic of a communion with something beyond mere tree sap. The visions Bran experiences afterward include one of human sacrifice before a weirwood, suggesting the children's worship involves bloodshed. Thus, the gift of greensight and guidance offered to Bran Stark could be a sophisticated form of indoctrination, shaping him into an agent for their survival and the restoration of their world, potentially at humanity's expense. Bloodraven and Leaf, as his mentors, control Bran's access to the weirwood net's knowledge, framing his understanding of his powers in a way that emphasizes the old gods and the natural world intrinsically linked to the children's existence. This could be a subtle means of aligning Bran with a pre-human natural order that may not prioritize human interests. The very act of creating a force like the others, if this is indeed their doing in the book canon as well, demonstrates a chilling willingness to employ extreme measures. This historical precedent suggests that if faced with final extinction or the complete despoiling of their sacred world, the children might not shy away from similar solutions in the present. The pact, from this viewpoint, was never a true resolution, but a protracted ceasefire. The children may have been engaged in a slow, magical Cold War ever since, patiently waiting for an opportunity, or a tool like Bran, to shift the balance of power back in their favor, reclaiming a world that was once theirs alone. Are the children of the forest truly allies of humanity, or are they using Bran as a weapon in an ancient conflict? And if they created the White Walkers once, what other horrors might they unleash to reclaim their world? Theory 18. The Great Other. Who or what is the god of ice and death? Beyond the wall, a force of winter stirs that even the wildlings fear. Is the Great Other truly a god opposing R'hllor, or something more ancient and terrible? And was the legendary Night's King its first human servant? In the dualistic cosmology championed by the followers of R'hllor, the Great Other stands as the ultimate antagonist, the Lord of Darkness, the Soul of Ice, the God of Night and Terror, whose very name is forbidden to be spoken. This entity is believed to wage an eternal war against R'hllor, the Lord of Light, with darkness, cold, and death as its servants, and the terrifying others, the White Walkers, as its cold children. Melisandre of Ashai, a fervent red priestess, believes the Great Other possesses black eyes, and a visage so chilling no mortal could survive looking upon it, and that dreams themselves can be its insidious whispers, seeking to drag humanity into an eternal night. But is this Great Other a conscious, scheming deity, or a personification of a more impersonal, elemental force? And how does the ancient legend of the Night's King, a fallen hero of the Night's Watch, connect to this cosmic evil? The book's legend of the Night's King tells of a 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, a fearless warrior from the Age of Heroes. He fell from grace when he pursued and loved a mysterious woman sighted from atop the wall, a woman with skin white as the moon, and eyes like blue stars, her flesh cold as ice. Bringing her back to the Night Fort, he declared her his corpse queen and himself her king. For 13 years, he ruled with strange sorcery, binding his sworn brothers to his will and committing horrific atrocities, including making sacrifices to the others. His reign of terror ended only when Brandon the Breaker, the king in the north, possibly his own brother according to old Nan's tales, and Joramun, the king beyond the wall, joined forces to cast him down. So great was his infamy that all records of him were destroyed and his name forbidden. A compelling theory posits that this historical Night's King was not merely a corrupted man, but an avatar or champion of the Great Other, analogous to how Azor Ahai is seen as a champion of R'hllor. The number 13 resonates ominously. The 13th Lord Commander, ruling for 13 years, and both Night's King and the Great Other, coincidentally or not, containing 13 letters. Both figures also have true names that are forbidden or lost. It is crucial to distinguish this legendary figure from the Night King depicted in the Game of Thrones television series, who is the active creator and leader of the White Walkers. George R.R. Martin himself has stated that the book's Night's King is a legendary figure, no more likely to have survived to the present day than Lan the Clever, implying he is long dead. The Great Other, then, might be less a sentient deity orchestrating events and more a personification of an elemental force, entropy, primordial cold, ultimate death that the others embody. The Night's King's story could be that of a mortal who, through forbidden love or dark ritual, giving his seed and soul to the Corpse Queen, tapped into or was consumed by this primal power, becoming its conduit. The extreme measures taken to erase his memory suggest a fear not just of a shameful past, but of the dangerous knowledge his story contained. Knowledge of how to access or unleash the very power that animates the others. His tale becomes a dark mirror to stories of sacrifice for power, like that of Nisa, where his union with the other woman was a transformative magical pact, linking him irrevocably to the forces of the long night. Some theorize the great. Other may be connected to the heart of winter, a place Bran glimpses in a vision that fills him with terror. He looked deep into the heart of winter, and then he cried out, afraid, and the heat of his tears burned on his cheeks. This suggests a physical manifestation or source of the Great Other's power, a counterpoint to the volcanic, fiery domains associated with R'hllor. Others speculate the Great Other might be a corrupted god or force from another mythology, perhaps the drowned god of the Ironborn, what is dead may never die, or the Lion of Night from Ytish legend, whose demons the Five Forts were built to contain. These connections would suggest a global presence and influence, explaining why similar defenses, the Wall, the Five Forts, exist on different continents. The nature of the others themselves offers clues to the Great Other's essence. Described as beautiful and cold, with armor that seemed to change color as they moved, they represent an almost alien aesthetic and intelligence, not mere monsters, but beings with their own culture and purpose. Their ability to raise the dead as whites suggests a fundamental opposition to life itself, or perhaps a different conception of existence altogether. The recurring phrase, "the night is dark and full of terrors," takes on new meaning when considering the Great Other, not just as a warning against mundane dangers, but as acknowledgement of an ancient, primordial force that has opposed life since the dawn of time. If R'hllor represents life, heat, and consciousness, the Great Other embodies entropy, cold, and the void, not evil in a human sense, but a cosmic principle of ending and stillness that is the inevitable counterpart to creation and movement. This context, the Other's advance south of the Wall, may not be a simple invasion, but the restoration of a natural balance disrupted by humanity's expansion and the recent resurgence of fire magic, dragons. The battle between ice and fire may be less about good versus evil and more about competing natural forces seeking equilibrium, with humanity caught in the middle of cosmic powers beyond their full comprehension. Is the Great Other truly a malevolent god, or simply the personification of winter's inevitable return? And are the others its army, or are they acting independently to fulfill their own inscrutable purpose? These 18 theories take us from the human realm of politics and identity to the cosmic scale of gods and primordial forces. They reveal a world far more complex and interconnected than it first appears, where ancient magics echo through time, forgotten civilizations leave their mark on distant shores, and cosmic forces move behind the scenes of human drama. The true beauty of George R.R. Martin's world lies in this layered complexity, the way a character's personal journey might connect to prophecies thousands of years old, or how a seemingly minor detail can unravel to reveal profound implications about the nature of the world itself. As we drift towards sleep, consider how these mysteries intertwine. The Starks of Winterfell connected to ice magic while housing potential dragon eggs beneath their castle. Euron Greyjoy seeking godhood through the same oily black stone magic that built Ashai and the Five Forts. The Children of the Forest creating the others while the Maesters worked to suppress all magic. Bran Stark consuming a friend to access the same weirwood network that might have once been used to create the White Walkers. The Song of Ice and Fire is not just about Targaryens and Starks, or dragons and dire wolves. It's about the fundamental forces that shape existence itself and the endless cyclical battle between them. Life and death, fire and ice, creation and destruction. These opposing forces create the melody of Martin's world, a song that has been playing since the dawn of time and will continue long after our current characters have become legends themselves. As you fall asleep, listen for that song in your dreams, of ice cracking, fire roaring, and the whispers of old gods in the rustling leaves of weirwood trees. Are we witnessing the final verse of an ancient song, or merely the latest chorus in an endless cycle of ice and fire?